The hour of 7 o'clock having arrived, I'll call the council to order. Let the roll reflect that all council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Alonji. A quorum has been established. Council, before you have the minutes of the regular council meeting on September 6, 2016. Are any additions or corrections for the minutes of that meeting? Seeing none, they stand approved. We'll go to council items to be considered. Any additional council items to be considered? Not council? Consent agenda. What's your wish? Councilmember Schultz makes a motion to approve, second by Councilmember Nelson. That motion is now before the body. Is there any further discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Next, we'll go to awarding of contracts and public hearing. We have a public hearing tonight to amend City Code Chapter 155.01 to rezone property from ag to public institution, Mortenson Development, Highway 55. John, welcome to our meeting. Glad to have you here, and I'll let you start us off with this item.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. As the Mayor pointed out, this is a public hearing tonight to consider two actions for the Mortenson Development Allina Clinic project. On your screens is shown the location. It's a 5.5-acre parcel located just west of Walmart, north of 55, and the high school site is up here towards the northeast. Two actions before you tonight. One would be a public hearing to consider the rezoning request of the property. You may recall that late last year we did annex the property from Nininger Township. With the annexation of the parcel, the property was given a designation of agriculture. The rezoning being asked for today is to rezone that property from agriculture to public institution. I'll get into that more in a minute here. The other action before you is a site plan approval to approve the plans for construction of a 50,000 square foot medical office building on the site. The Planning Commission did review both of these actions at their meeting on August 22nd, recommending approval of both of those with limited discussion. We did send notification out to the neighboring properties. We have not heard any comment back from them at this point. I will make one change to the application or to the report itself. Both of these projects itself require a simple majority. I originally thought the rezoning of this property require a 6 of 7. I have confirmed with Mr. Fleagle that that's not the case. So simple majority on both of these here. Since the Planning Commission meeting, we did have some revised information submitted to us. At the Planning Commission meeting, one of the requirements we had for site plan approval was to do a traffic impact study. When we originally looked at the study, we were looking for some more information. A revised study was returned back to us showing further analysis of the property, namely ensuring that the school traffic was part of that, and then looking at full development of not only this parcel, but the other two properties in Dakota Summit. That being said, the traffic report did come back and did recommend that, or did state that they did not forecast any significant impacts on the study intersections, which would have been Dakota Summit Drive, North Frontage Road, and Highway 55. So within the report itself, we have two actions. One is the rezoning request, as I stated before. This is a rezoning to PI, public institution. The public institution district is best suited for the operation as proposed. It provides as a permitted use a medical office building. Public institution is used for a variety of different things throughout town, most namely the Allina Regina campus on Nininger Road and Pleasant Drive, as well as some other publicly held properties and buildings throughout the city. That being said, it is consistent with their comprehensive plan, and we are recommending approval of it. With the site plan itself, this is the proposed layout of the property. This is the future Dakota Summit Drive, just west of the Walmart area. The 50,000 square foot building would go here. That would be 2 stories and parking surrounding the building. Be a parking lot entrance onto North Frontage Road and 2 onto Dakota Summit Drive. Future development would occur up here with an outlot. 4th Street is off the site, located to the north. North Frontage Road to the south. South of that, a new development site that would be developed in the future outside of this project here. So looking at the axis looks fine. We are approving of that. We also took a look at the parking of the facility. Parking is calculated a little bit different on this. One of the aspects of the zoning code is that when a use does not specifically meet the standards that we have within the code, be it retail, residential, et cetera, there is some discretion granted to allow for the parking to be calculated specific to its use. In this case, Allina has argued, Mortenson has argued that a medical office building is different from its parking requirements from a regular office building. And this outlines some of the changes that would be had between the two of them. Typically, with an office building, you're looking at one space for 300 square feet, so there'd be 167 spaces required on a project of this size. What Allina and Mortenson are asking for is for 350 spaces to be provided on this property based upon a higher parking need for a medical office building. They have calculated that they would need one space for every employee on site at a given time, which would be 140 employees, and they want the provision of 2 parking spaces per each exam room within the facility, there being 100 exam rooms within the building. So 200 for patients, 140 for the staff itself, and 10 more spaces extra, I guess, beyond that to round up to 350. Within their justification for providing this, they did show us some other sites that they have developed in Buffalo, Isanti, River Falls, and Lakeville, in which that standard has been used. From our analysis of it, this is an unusual site here. We have taken a look at other codes to determine whether medical office is calculated differently under parking in other cities, and have found, yes, that's the case, that more parking is generally required for those types of uses. The rationale provided for the provision of the parking is based upon full employment and full use of all the exam rooms. We've been told by Allina that that is something that occurs often, but uncertain whether that would occur all the time. The parking ratio is a little slightly higher than some of the other constructed clinics. We asked Allina to expand upon that. They indicated that there has been a change in their care model that occurred in 2015, which requires a larger amount of parking for support staff. So we, as staff, accept the reasons and the rationale for the increased parking provided by Allina. At the Planning Commission meeting, we also discussed whether a portion of that additional parking could be proofed instead of provided at the time of original construction. By proof of parking, that would mean parking would be designated and would be approved upon the plans, but that the actual physical construction of it will be held off until needed in the future. In discussion of that, the Planning Commission decided that they did not want to recommend doing that, that they would agree that the full build-out should be done as proposed by Allina. Other aspects of the plan itself, from an architecture standpoint, the building certainly meets our architectural standards. It'll be a nice-looking building, brick and glass. From a landscape standpoint, certainly meets our requirements from a landscaping and a lighting standpoint. We've taken a cursory review for the grading, drainage, and erosion control plans as well. We have conditioned approval of the site plan based upon those as well. So we are recommending approval of the site plan based upon the plans and conditions within your report. We do have representatives here tonight from the architect, and I believe from Allina Hospital as well, if you have any questions for them. Thank you.
Okay, our first order of business, council, is I will open up the public hearing in regards to the rezone. So this, I'm opening up the public hearing. Anyone here would like to speak to the issue of the rezoning itself? Okay, seeing none, I will close that portion of the public hearing. Council, this is in regards to the rezone. Let's take that issue first. What's your wish? Councilmember Vaughn. Councilmember Vaughn makes motion to approve, seconded by Councilmember Balsanic. That motion is now before the body. Is there any further discussion to that motion? Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Your Honor. John, just a quick question, clarification. We're only rezoning the Allina building, or potential for the Allina building. Outlot A and B are not being rezoned from ag at this time, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, because I was wondering why it's not a commercial designation versus a PI if we're doing the whole thing,
Sure.
the whole 10 acres or whatever it is. But thank you for that clarification, John.
Sure.
Okay. Council, we have the motion before us. Is there further discussion? Councilmember Balsanic.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. John, how many, do we know how many parking spaces they have right now at the current Allina clinic?
Councilmember, I'm not sure what that number is off the top of my head. I don't know if anyone from the hospital might have an idea of that as well.
it's quite the campus, and
Yeah.
there are parking lots all over the place, which is not a problem. But, you know, my experience of going out there is there's always ample parking regarding, you know, vehicles coming in and out and so forth. So, no problem with that. I did just want to make kind of a statement. I've had some people ask me about annexation and how the city ended up, you know, taking property from Nininger Township. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Minnesota statute allows a city to annex land that abuts the city limits. And so that's how we went about with the annexation process. There was no stealing of land or anything like that. It was all done according to, again, Minnesota statute.
And Councilmember, I could expand on that a little bit too. And with an annexation, we as a city have only looked upon annexations at the request of the property owner. So really, the owner of the property is given the option of whether they want to continue to use the property within the bounds of the existing township, or whether they would choose to annex to the city to provide for more intensive development of the property. And we as the city take a look at annexations based upon our comprehensive plan. So we look in the future and see that we could anticipate growth out to this point, but no further. And so that's how our annexation decisions are generally made.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Is there any further discussion to the motion before the body for rezone? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails. Next, is before us is the site plan. John went over that. Council, that item is now before us. What's your wish? Councilmember Nelson makes a motion to approve. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Councilmember Balsanic. That motion is now before the body. Discussion. Is there any discussion to that motion? Councilmember Schultz.
Thank you, Your Honor. John, can you tell me the rationale the Planning Commission gave to not consider proof of parking as opposed to making the recommendation they did right now?
Sure, council member. I think it had to do with the cost. They looked at providing parking spaces in the future as an additional cost to the clinic and to Mortenson. I think that was the primary reason for doing it that way.
Thank you, John. And Your Honor,
Councilmember?
and then also the permeable pavers, Allina rejected that idea as well?
And Allina may be able to speak more to that. I'm trying to recall how much discussion we had at the Planning Commission. I don't recall much discussion on permeable pavers. I know we had discussed that as an option early on, but I don't know if anyone from Allina or Mortenson would like to address that in any further detail.
Welcome. We're very glad to have you here.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome to the meeting, and can you give us your name for the record?
Yep, Leslie Sepamaki. I work with Mortenson Construction. So we did analyze looking at impermeable pavers and it's more expensive, and then maintenance reasons too. They decided they didn't want to go that route with just the frost-free cycle of and trying to maintain impermeable pavers in that area. So those were the two reasons we chose not to go down that path.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, I have another question for John.
Councilmember?
So John, I understand the rationale on why they want this large piece of asphalt, but my question is how it impacts our stormwater runoff. Where's the water going to go? And then when outlots A and B are put in, what happens when those developments go forward? Let's say it's expansion of what Allina already has, or someone who decides that they need a large patch of tar. I'm just a little concerned about what we're doing in terms of the impermeable surface and how we're going to handle that.
Sure. Well, there's requirements that we have from an engineering, grading, drainage, and erosion control rules in which they need to be able to hold a certain volume of rainfall within their site. They can't negatively impact adjoining sites, and they also have to account for the holding of that water for a certain time for sediments and filtration to occur. So that's something that's required of this property as well as other properties within the city. So within our engineering review of that, that's something that is being reviewed and something that we feel comfortable the site plan as it sits right now would be able to handle.
Thank you, John. I just, as this moves forward in terms of the outlots, I think we should be very, very careful, maybe even right from the get-go, inform whoever decides they're gonna move forward with that kind of development, that maybe we want something a little bit different in terms of pavers or whatever, because we're gonna have a lot of impermeable surface up there, so we may wanna think about as this moves forward. Thank you.
We do have a motion before the body. Is there further discussion? Councilmember Balsanic.
Just to kind of key off of what Councilmember Schultz said, maybe what we should do is have the appropriate council committee look at perhaps changing the building code on parking lots so that we might be able to work in something that says that we could go to something that is permeable, water permeable surfaces. I don't know if this is something that we would want to look at and pass along to the appropriate council committee. I don't know, that maybe Public Works might be one. We could look at it at a future date and see. Just a comment about that. But I think it might be a good idea to do that.
Okay. We always have work to do, so that's going to be a consideration for a future committee. Is there any further discussion to the motion before the body? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the site plan say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Next is comments from the audience. Is there any comments from the audience this evening? Seeing none, council announcements. Do we have announcements? Councilmember Vaughn.
Just that there's a Red Rock Committee meeting that I'll be attending this Thursday at 4:30 at Newport City Hall.
Okay, thank you. Any further announcements? Seeing none, I just have a few announcements. On Monday, September 26th, the Planning Commission will be meeting here at City Hall at 7 p.m. Monday, October 3rd, will be our next City Council meeting at 7 p.m. here at City Hall. And on Tuesday, October 4th, is Fire Prevention Week open house at 7 p.m. at the fire station, where we can learn about fire safety. And Mark, are we going to see you in that firehouse again this year? No, not this year. Okay. But it's always a great community event, so we hope to see everyone there for that. There's no further business before the council. A motion to adjourn is in order. Councilmember Vaughn makes a motion to adjourn, second by Councilmember Brox. That motion is before the body. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The motion prevails and we are adjourned. Thank you.